It has been called the crown jewel of St. Louis, but Forest Park is more like a collection of gems. And author Carolyn Miller has spent the past 2 years taking inventory.
There's something to discover around every corner.
At 1,300 acres, Forest Park is so large, few people have seen it all. But as an avid runner, Carolyn Miller has seen most of it, which is why Reedy Press approached her to create a book of Forest Park walking tours, a pathfinder to curiosities, familiar and obscure.
I think my favorite little gem is the Spanish Cannon. It was actually given to the city of St. Louis by the War Department in 1900. It was forged during the Spanish-American War. And St. Louis didn't have a place to put it. And so they stuck it in the horse stables in Forest Park. And it sat in there until somebody wrote an op-ed in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch in the voice of the cannon, kind of complaining about living with these horses and how it needed a place to live. And so in 1901, the city of St. Louis built a little area in Forest Park for the Spanish Cannon to sit.
The book maps out 7 historic tours and 1 nature walk. Many points of interest along those routes are the things visitors see all the time, but have no idea about the story behind them.
I love the visitor center. It used to be a streetcar stop, a streetcar pavilion. The Cabinet House, that's the first brick farmhouse west of the Mississippi.
And then there are the less familiar sites, like the joyful Musicians Memorial, the somber Korean War Memorial, and the baronial Vandevenner Place gates.
These gates were the entrance to a very posh, ritzy St. Louis neighborhood in the late 1800s. And so all that was left of it were these gates, and they moved them to Forest Park so that they wouldn't just disappear. Kind of a weird story, but they are beautiful to look at.
There's a time in each year that we always hold dear, good old summertime.
Most St. Louisans know the 2 remaining permanent structures from the World's Fair are the flight cage at the zoo and the art museum. But the book also points out other ornaments in the park that are part of the fair's legacy.
So many different really classic things in Forest Park were influenced by the World's Fair or purchased with funds from the World's Fair. I'm thinking of the Apotheosis of St. Louis, of course, the sculpture of Thomas Jefferson in the lobby of the History Museum. During the fair, they had a waterfall flowing down Art Hill, and it was called the Cascades. And so after the fair ended, they decided to build a waterfall sort of in tribute to that original waterfall. And that fall is actually the start of the water system in Forest Park.
Well, and on that score, a lot of people probably don't realize, because you can't really see it anymore, that River du Père runs through Forest Park.
That was my favorite fact that I uncovered, because I had no idea. They channeled it into these giant concrete pipes and pushed it underground so that when the city hosted the World's Fair in 1904, nobody could see it, which I just thought that was a really cool fact.
Like so many St. Louisans, Carolyn Miller feels a personal connection to Forest Park. It's where she met her husband, and like a lot of brides, she used the park as a backdrop for her wedding pictures.
I took some on the bridge to Picnic Island, and I think I was the 3rd bride in line for that bridge. But I took a lot of them in Kennedy Forest, and there were no brides around at all. I did get a lot of burrs in my wedding dress, so that was a problem.
In the good old summertime.
The history of Forest Park is the history of us, a collection of personal recollections, touchstones, and traditions enjoyed by the generations before us to be enjoyed by the generations that will follow. And now, thanks to Carolyn Miller's hard work, for the rest of us, learning about its treasures is just a walk in the park.
The fact that you can go to Forest Park and see a Monet and a polar bear all in one day for free is just incredible. I mean, I think not a lot of cities can say that. We're just so lucky to have it.